Do you know the difference between a mint mark, a chop mark, a privy mark, or a counter stamp? Let me help you. This question has come up a couple of times, and I finally got myself organized and decided to do a video highlighting some of the interesting little symbols and letters that you find particularly on Australian coins. So on mint mark, let's talk about why they exist and what their function is. So going back when we had a lot of coins being produced for circulation by both the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra and the Perth Mint, obviously over in Perth, there was a method of determining where your coin had actually come from. So fun fact with your pennies, if you take a look at the word penny and just after the letter Y, you'll notice there is a dot on occasion. That dot indicates that that particular coin was produced in Perth in Western Australia. Similarly, on occasion, you will see the letter I on both pennies and half pennies. This means that that particular coin was struck in India. Now, in modern Australian decimal collecting, the most common mint mark that you will see is the letter C. Funnily enough, all of our circulating currency is produced at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. So I find it a little interesting that you get C mint marked coins when I don't know where else they would have been made. At any rate, the C mint marked coins, specifically the $2 coins in the coloured variety, are very popular in the collector's market, and that for a lot of people becomes a theme to their collection. They'll only go out of their way to collect the C mint marked $2 coins as they're produced. And as we've seen, they have often become highly sought after, and it's a very popular area of collecting. Somewhat lesser known is a variety of $1 C mint mark coins that have been produced over the years. So whenever they've done commemorative coins, you'll often see in presentation packs, as well as sometimes on PNCs, C mint mark $1, which I think is a little bit of an underrated area of collecting, and fortunately, you often don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get them. So mint marks, definitely important, but not very exciting. Privy marks is where things get a little more interesting. So privy marks was something that were being used often to commemorate events. So you'll see them often used with things like coin expos all over the world. Occasionally you'll see dollar coins, and this is where we branch out into the silver world. So you'll see occasionally 1 ounce silver coins. There was a period of time where the Perth Mint did a huge range of all different interesting privy marks. So they did things to commemorate different countries. They even did some ancient coin privy marks once upon a time. And you'll see things, it's quite interesting to see a combination of, I guess, worlds colliding. So you have things like the Kookaburra coin, which you see here, with a dragon privy mark on it. So Perth Mint are highly regarded for their lunar coin program. That's probably a video in and of itself, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. But suffice to say, privy marks can often be a little more out there, I guess you could say. The designs vary quite a lot, and it's often not just a letter. However, you will often see for other states, so for Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth, occasionally those letters will appear on dollar coins, often for the Ander shows. So funnily enough, this guy organises the Ander shows, and often there are commemorative $1 coins produced to sell at the events, and they'll often be available from dealers after the event. And a lot of collectors will go out of their way to put together a whole set of all of the various privy mark dollars for the various coin shows. Fun fact, when you see the annual dollar set produced by the Royal Australian Mint, you'll see that it says mint mark and privy mark set. All of the coins except for the C mint mark are privy marks. So only the Canberra $1 coin can technically be considered a mint marked dollar. All of the other states are privy marks. Moving on, we have counter stamps. This is an area where you can certainly go down the rabbit hole, as I've done in a previous video, taking a look at the old Spanish 8 reals, looking at the head of a fool stamped on the neck of an arse. It's a very interesting one. So the function of a counter stamp back in the day was often to adjust the value of a particular coin. So if they were changing the unit of currency being applied to it, and it was often used as well for a conversion. So if you were using a coin of another country in your local country, a counterstamp was applied to indicate that that was now of a legal tender status wherever you happen to be. Nowadays, they're not used nearly in the same way. The Royal Australian Mint have done a couple of counterstamped issues. One that comes to mind was a 2015 Lest We Forget red $2 coin, on which they counterstamped a poppy design. So the counterstamp was actually done in person at the mint, and as I mentioned in my $2 coin video, I actually drove from Melbourne to Canberra and to stand in line and get a couple of those counterstamped $2 coins. Finally, we have chopmarks. This is sort of a bonus round. This doesn't really relate to Australian currency. I just thought I'd put this in there because occasionally in your travels, in your coin collecting journey, you may see chopmarked coins out there on the market. Now this was often done by merchants or assayers, and that was almost their way of stamping a coin to authenticate it. Maybe not, authentication may not be the right word. It was to communicate to anyone that they had checked the coin for its weight and purity. So at a time where debasement of coins was an issue, so people melting down silver coins and replacing them with all sorts of different things of a lesser value, that was a merchant effectively saying that they had checked the coin and it met all of their standards. So chopmarks are a fascinating part of collecting, and perhaps something I'll get into more detail on another video, but I just wanted to highlight it as it's something interesting and unique that you'll see from time to time when collecting. So there's your introduction to counterstamps, mint marks, chopmarks, and privy marks. I hope you found this interesting. I'll continue to produce these informative videos and hope you enjoy learning a little bit more about the great hobby of collecting. It's a lot of fun putting these together, and I would like to know if you could come up with your own privy mark, let's say to put on a dollar coin. What would it be? What would it commemorate? Would it be a place, an event? What would it be? There are no limits when it comes to privy marks, so do your best. Let me know what you would do. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.